Hi friends. Hello. Hi. If my hair is green, I don't know why that's happening. I'm trying to fix it. I actively don't know why my hair is turning green. I'm working on it. So before we jump into this video, I feel as though I want to preface it really quick. 6 months ago, I said I don't want to talk about John anymore. And that was for a lot of reasons. The main reason being what had happened with Peter. That to me was just such a negative, disgusting, ugly, horrible situation that talking about him and thinking about him and understanding what was going on in his life and trying to talk to you guys about that was becoming a really negative place for me. Like, it was just too much of a person who was very obviously had something wrong with them, because you have to do something like that. So I pretty much stopped talking about him and said in one of my last videos about him that I wasn't going to talk about him anymore, and I was kind of over the situation. That has since changed in the last few months, mostly because I think I was able to... I started watching some of his videos again when he would post them, and that wasn't because I like him or because I wanted to know about the drama. I just wanted to see what was going on and like how the situation had kind of progressed, because I was getting a lot of tweets saying he was still doing a lot of shady things, and he is. Just a side note, I filmed this entire video already last night, and then I finished and all of the files were corrupted, which means they're unusable, and I couldn't access them. And I was really, really upset about that, but that ended up being a really good thing, because that video was talking about a lot of things that I feel like also need to be talked about. But he just put out, and I'm going to still talk about some of those things, but he just put out a video this morning basically talking about, what did he title it? John Kuckian's biggest scandals, my biggest mistakes from being a perfect socialite. I was so confused. So I watched it, and I actually, while I was watching it, I was like, I want to talk about this again, because it's been a while since I've talked about John. It's been a while since I've really gotten into it. And also, here's the thing. I don't like using clips in my video because I'm deathly afraid of copyright issues, like deathly afraid I'm going to do it wrong, so I just don't do it. But I so wish I could put together a video point by point by point, debunking every single word that comes out of his mouth in almost all of his videos, especially the ones where he's talking about himself. I kind of did that here, but you don't have like the reference for the video. I kind of tried to like quote things he said or whatever. But basically, if I had to go through and point by point talk about every single thing that he talked about in the video that was incorrect or hypocritical or wrong or just a flat out lie, this would be literally a 3-hour video, because it was so much. So I've condensed it into, you can see how much I wrote. I've condensed it into this page of notes, just talking about the things I thought were the most crucial. But I think if you really wanted to nitpick and go in, you 100% could, because almost, I would say 98% of the words he spoke were so manipulative, lying, like just really gross stuff. So we're just going to do that today. I'm going to get ready while I do this, but I'm probably going to stop a lot. Somebody commented on one of my videos and was like, would you just get ready? Would you stop talking? The whole point of this is that I'm talking, but while I'm doing my makeup, it kind of like chills it out. I feel like it makes it a little bit more of a chill vibe instead of just me yelling at a camera. So that's what we're doing today. We're getting ready. So let's just get into this. There's so much. It's like, where do you even really start? The video, and normally, by the way, if you don't watch my videos, you haven't watched them before, I don't normally write down notes for my videos. I just want to stress to you guys that there was so much wrong with this video and so much wrong with his behavior lately that I truly had to write notes so I didn't forget something. Because normally there's like 4 or 5 points I want to make and I can remember them. This is like a literal script of things that I need to remember to say, because they're all important. Anyway, okay. So first, let's just talk about his behavior leading up to this video, because I feel like that's also important, and I feel like this video might kind of distract people from what he has been doing lately. The biggest thing I've noticed lately, of course, there's the whole issue of him being very obviously very jealous of Rich collabing with Jeffree Star and, you know, not trying to like expose him for being like a Jeffree Star hater or whatever. All of it was just so annoying. That whole thing happened. But more what I've noticed in his videos, you can watch a lot of videos on that situation because a lot of people have made them. What I've noticed in the situation that I don't think enough people are talking about is the way he is manipulating the audience he still has to dislike the people that have wronged him. I think this is important to note because I think a lot of people that still watch him, who are like still fans of him, watch him because they're like, well, I don't really care about like his drama. I just think he presents drama well. But if you actually look into his channel, his version of events when he speaks about drama in the beauty community is so incredibly biased and swayed towards what he thinks is the right, like, okay, I first noticed this in the 6-part episode with Tati, where he did six-part series on the Halo Beauty release, trying to expose all of this stuff. If you want to know my opinions on the drama channel Halo Beauty thing, you can go find them, because I thought people really overreacted to that situation. He especially really overreacted to that situation. His videos especially were just super biased, and I was like, why is he really like going in on this? And then I remembered this is what he does. He does it so kind of far away removed from that situation, and because there's so much drama happening in the beauty community at all times, you kind of forget these things. Tati was one of the first beauty gurus to ever call him out and say directly that he was a liar. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when he made a video saying that Tati was mad at Too Faced and didn't support Too Faced because Jared didn't remember her name at a party, Tati was one of the first people I had ever seen comment against him and be like, this is actually not true what you said in your video, you're lying. Which was like, props to Tati, because she brought her receipts, she had emails, she was like a drama channel for a day. She had emails, she had pictures, she had everything saying that John Kuckian was a liar. And he didn't really talk about her for a few months. And I think because he didn't talk about her for a few months, because he knew people would be like, well, you're being biased because she did that. So he waited until Halo Beauty happened and then made a 6-part series. Really, and Tati even exposed some screenshots from him. He DM'd her on Twitter and was like, you are the most disgusting, evil, nasty person, or something horrible that he said to her. So it's obvious he doesn't like her. So anything he says about Tati is instantly now irrelevant. Anything he says about Tati, it's biased because he doesn't like her. It's been openly proven that he doesn't like her. Anything he says about Manny and Laura, coincidentally, Manny and Laura stood up for Peter when he accused him unjustly of being a pedophile. So Manny and Laura stood up for him. Second their palettes launched, he had 7-part videos on both of their palettes, all of the drama, everything was drama. And it's not because he actually thinks there's drama there. He's digging his hardest to find the drama. It's literally because they spoke out against him. I think the most blatant way you can see this, and if you're a fan of John's and you've come here, I say this in a lot of videos, before you comment that I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm ugly and I'm stupid, just hear me out for a quick second. If you watch his video about TanaCon, this was the most damning evidence that I found to support my claim that he does this. He does not barely talk about Tana. I was wondering when I watched it, I was like, I wonder who he's gonna side with here, because he doesn't really like Tana because she lied to him or something. But he also doesn't like James, because I remember when the whole Peeterman thing happened, James outwardly said that John Kuckian was a liar because John Kuckian tried to say that James Charles was also sexually abused or harassed by Peeterman, and James Charles said that wasn't true. So it was interesting that instead of in a video about TanaCon, where they were talking about what happened at TanaCon, where James Charles played a very, very small role in that he commented on Tana Mongeau's Instagram live feed. That video, for some reason, was primarily about James Charles. For some reason, it was really a jab at James, which makes literally no sense in the situation unless the person making the video has a very large personal vendetta against James Charles, which is it's the case. That's the case. He has a vendetta against these people, and he uses his platform instead of to give you the honesty, to give you the reality. Even with Huda Beauty, He made a whole video defending her against Jeffree Star because he has a vendetta against Jeffree Star. None of his tea that everyone praises him for, it's all biased. Now you can argue, I am not a biased person when I talk about John Kuckian because I don't like him, but I tell you that up front. I'm gonna sit here and say, hi, I'm making this video from the perspective that I don't really like this man. He doesn't do that. He tries to hide it and hide his ulterior motives in his videos, and that's wrong. That's disgusting. And I think the main reason people have stuck with him and defended him is because they're like, well, I like his content. I like his channel. It's like you're being tricked because you don't realize, because he waits. It's not people's fault for not realizing it because he waits. And unless you really pay attention to what he's doing and who's wronged him, you wouldn't notice it. But when you pay, I sound like I feel like I'm like Charlie in that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he has like the conspiracy wall and he's like, it makes sense. Like, that's what I feel like I am right now, but that's what it is. Like, it's almost, I don't want to say it's a conspiracy because I don't think it's a conspiracy. Like, it's just annoying more than anything else. So that is one of the biggest things I've noticed that he has been doing lately. Of course, I took issue with a lot of other things I've heard. I want to direct you guys, if you haven't, I think most people have already seen it. I'm gonna link Beauty with Ashley's video down below, where she has a really great and informative video out right now. She actually was able to get a hold of the person that John Kuckian, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, the situation with the woman he is accusing of attempted murder. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I also just want you guys to go check out Beauty with Ashley's video. She has a 2-part series out right now where she actually interviews the woman and brings up some really interesting evidence, kind of counteracting what John said, and that's been a huge thing, but I don't want to delve too much into that because this is already a 15-minute video and I still have an entire page of stuff to get through. But go watch that video because it'll really expose some of the other things he's been doing lately that are really problematic. The rest of this video is going to be talking about the video he just posted. I will never recommend that somebody go and watch a John Kuckian video, but if you're going to go watch it on, there's some other tube I think you can watch it on, and then there's also ad blocker, so he doesn't get any money from you watching it. That's how I watch his videos, just so you know. So the video John posted, it starts out where you're almost sitting there like, is he gonna like talk about everything? Is he gonna actually own up to some things and be honest for once? I should have known by the title that that wasn't true. But you're almost lured into a false sense of like, oh, he's gonna be honest about something for once. And maybe he's gonna actually openly talk about things and own up to his part, his role that he played in it. Because he never does that. He never owns up to his role. Out of all the things he does, that might be the biggest issue I have with him, is that he just never ever actively owns up to the horrible things he's done. One of the first things he talks about in the video, he makes sure to include a really dramatic clip of that video that he posted like 2 years ago about Peter, the first time he tried to ruin his career, where it actually almost worked because we didn't know about John yet, but posted the video about Peeterman when he basically told all of his subscribers that Peter was this awful person. He tried to spin that as, oh, well, I was just trying to disassociate from this person and I was just disassociating from them. But if you actually had seen that video back in the day, that video was more of a, I want to ruin this person's life and tell everyone that they're a horrible person when they've literally done nothing to me and I have no evidence to support it. Does that sound familiar to when he did the same thing a year later? Because it does to me too. And even then in the video, he mentions Karina. He mentions a lot of people that don't make sense to what he's saying. So it's kind of confusing. Like he mentions Karina, but it's not confusing if you really read it, because if you think about a manipulator, think about someone who's manipulative. I'm not just talking for no reason here. I am a social work major in college, so I take a lot of psychology classes and I learn about people who manipulate and the kind of traits and stuff. People who manipulate are gonna try to spin it in a very subtle way. It's all about the subtle things. He subtly brings up Karina and how everyone was bullying Karina without mentioning and how everyone was really aggressive towards Karina, and that's why he made friends with her, without mentioning the fact that Karina is like the most aggressive drama channel that we have on YouTube. The most aggressive. She's so abrasive and aggressive. That's like her shtick. Like that's what she does. So to make it seem like Peter was the one who was really bullying and harassing her when Peter has already debunked this is like absolutely ridiculous. He kind of paints this picture throughout the whole video that you're supposed to believe, and what he is expecting you to believe, and the tale that he is spinning is that everyone else in the drama community is evil and horrible and bad, but not him. He is the outlier. He is the black sheep of the group. He is different because he's authentic and he's real. And all of these people, I'm sorry if I seem sassy in this video, guys, but like, gee, it's so transparent, and it's scary how transparent it is. He is almost like the bringer of truth, and he's just trying to be real and help people and be honest and all of these things that just aren't true. And he's trying to make you say, well, everyone else does this, but not me. I don't do that. I am better than that. I would never do that. I'm just trying to be real. He just tries to take jabs at everyone and talk about how if everyone isn't like nobody is like him, he has nobody like, instead of thinking, I think Karen Joy mentioned this in one of her first videos about him, and this was such a good point. He's trying to spin it like everyone around him is this evil person who's done him wrong, but at a certain point, if you are involved in every situation, every single situation where something bad is happening, something shady is happening, something sketchy is happening, if you're involved in every single situation, you're part of that now. You are the common denominator in the problem. You are the issue. It's not all the other people around you. If you're constantly the one having issues, you're probably the problem. So one thing I thought was really interesting, not a take I'd ever heard before in regards to giving advice to people, was that you shouldn't publicly do charity work because people are just going to spin that into you being an evil person. In my experience, just little old me, people who do honest charity work and people who actually do it and aren't shady or lie about it or are honest and transparent would be a good word. People who do that, they don't have any problems publicly talking about charity. Correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have literally any issues talking about charity work, talking about them doing it. I have never heard of somebody saying that charity work is a bad thing to talk. That's like honestly one of the things we can all usually agree on is charity work is a good thing. That's a good thing to do. That's a nice thing to do. The problem we had with his particular charity work is that he is so freaking sketchy about it. He's so shady. The whole ringtone thing was so incredibly shady and sketchy, and it just was sketchy. He wasn't honest about it, and people had valid concerns because one thing we also agree upon as a society is lying about charity is a really awful thing to do. I don't know if he just missed that. I don't really know what he thought would happen when he wasn't honest about it. That's the only thing you have to do when you do charity work. Don't not do charity work. Just be honest when you do it and be transparent and be willing to talk about it. Because lying about charity is like a really messed up thing to do. And when we think you're doing that, obviously we're going to call you out for it. The whole ringtone thing, and in my opinion, later on from that, the entire, the Kuckian Foundation, or whatever you want to call it, only reason those got criticism was not because people hate when you give to charity. That's not a thing. Nobody doesn't like when you give to charity. People didn't like that you were lying about it. People didn't like that you weren't being honest about it. That's what people didn't like about that. I just had to talk about that because I hated the way he tried to make it seem like people hated. That doesn't even make sense that people would hate on you for giving to charity. That is the one thing that we as like, it just drives me crazy. I can't understand it. I just can't understand it. Oh, there is a big part of this video where he kind of goes on a bit of a rant against Here for the Tea, which is not uncommon because whenever he has a chance to show edited voice notes talking about Here for the Tea, he takes it, okay? He takes that opportunity. He really doesn't like this girl, which is fine. We're allowed to not like people, whatever. But he tries to say, like, he inserts, it was kind of funny when I was watching it because, first of all, Here for the Tea is not an unproblematic person. A lot of people have a lot of problems with Here for the Tea. For many reasons. A lot of them being things she says on a lot of them being things the way she's very reactionary on Twitter. A lot of people have issues with Here for the Tea. I don't know why you would try to compare yourself to her to look better. She's definitely never committed charity fraud, and she definitely doesn't lie as much as you do. But like Here for the Tea is not a saint. To sit there and try to compare yourself to her to be like, well, look how great I am, it's just ridiculous. With voice notes that we've been proven are freaking doctored and all of that, whatever. He said Here for the Tea went off on him because he told her to go to the police and he got mad at her for not going to the police with these allegations. Sure, Jan. But what actually happened when Here for the Tea was like posting all these things saying all of the allegations, he put screenshots in of her message saying all of these allegations are 100% false. She's talking about the allegations not of like that happening, not of her getting a message that may have been false and was wrong or whatever about Thomas Halbert. She's not like denying that that happened. She is denouncing and denying the fact that in a video you said she was a child sympathizer. That's what she was denying, which personally is a really reasonable thing to go ahead and deny when it's literally not true. You taking that information that she gave you and making that giant leap into being a child sympathizer, it just doesn't make sense. So when he really misleads you in this situation because he says she went off on her because he told her to go to the police. That's not true. He went off on her because he stole one of her videos that she'd been working on. She has said that. He has admitted to that. Like there's evidence to prove this. She didn't just go off on him because of that. When she went off on him because he stole her video idea, when that happened, that's what I probably shouldn't be doing this all with bake on my face, but whatever. That's when he made the whole video. Suddenly he was like, well, she's a child sympathizer and blah, 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 blah. All of this stuff that wasn't relevant a few months, that he didn't care about a few weeks ago. He didn't care about telling anyone a few weeks ago, but suddenly because she was trying to take back control and be like, you did something wrong here, suddenly he has a huge problem with it. He wants to tell everyone and expose her. He really presents a situation, and I think this is, if you just look at what actually happened in that situation, it's very obvious to see. And I am not a Here for the Tea fan, so this is not me supporting her. I am not a fan of her. But I will say he twists that situation to make her look like something that, like a whole different situation happened. None of what he is saying is actually how everything went down. And if you look into that situation, you can find that for yourself. One of the things I think that was interesting about this video too, he goes on a really big rant. This whole thing was basically, it was almost like a what not to do on social media. I would like to call it Why John Kuckian is Not a Victim Explained by Himself, because he literally just contradicts himself millions of times. He talks a lot about how the only way to be not hated on social media. He says the only way to not get criticism, because I get criticism because I'm so real and authentic. So the only way to not get criticism is to be like Here for the Tea and not put your face in. Or be like other drama channels who don't even have their voice. It's just text, or basically shading tea spill. Or not put your like personality, like be a fake persona like Rich Lux, who a lot of people are saying that that's not true. I don't really know Rich Lux. I've never talked to him before. But a lot of people are saying that, first of all, congratulations to him, because to be a drama channel and to cross those borders of like meeting with real beauty gurus is impressive. And no matter what John Kuckian says to try to take that away, that's impressive. And number two, Rich Lux, based on what a lot of people are saying, is very similar to how he is in his videos. I know John is claiming that he's a different person, but everyone else is saying that's not true, and John Kuckian's a liar, so I don't believe him. He basically says all of that, and he's like, the only way to be successful is to not be yourself. But in my opinion, call me crazy, there are millions of people on YouTube right now that are having successful channels and gaining subscribers by being themselves, by being authentic and being themselves, and they don't get drama videos made about them. They don't get hate videos made about them. I think the only time you need to worry about being yourself is when yourself is a bad person. I think the only time you shouldn't be authentic is when the authentic person that you are is a bad person. Like, that's something a bad person would say. No person who is just knows they're good, who knows that they don't do wrong things, who knows they aren't a bad, like, no person who thinks they really don't deserve the hate they're getting would sit there and say, don't be authentic, don't be yourself. It doesn't make any sense. It really, really, really doesn't. It makes no sense to me. Good people don't worry about how their authenticity is coming across because they're good. And then he tries to compare himself to like Nikki Tutorials and PewDiePie, says Nikki had all this drama. The only drama I really remember Nikki being in was drama that John Kuckian talked about. I don't remember her being in much other drama besides, I know there was the Too Faced issue with the palette, but that wasn't really like drama, that didn't like talk about her character, that didn't speak on her character. The only issues that Nikki ever had with drama she literally isn't talked about in drama channels, really. The only issue she was ever talked about was with John. He was the only one saying negative things about her. Like, he was literally one of the only people doing it. And I think the problem is that you can be, I don't want people to watch, especially because I know he has like a lot of kids following him. I don't want kids to watch that and think, well, if I'm authentic. The only time you need to worry about not being authentic on the internet, or even just in general, is if you're not a good person, if you have to hide the fact that you're a negative person. Am I crazy? Like, am I reading too much into this? I genuinely don't know if I'm like reading way too much into this. But I know who I am, and I know that I'm a good person, and I know a lot of you know who you are and know that you're good people, and I would never worry about, it just doesn't make sense. And if I thought somebody was representing me a wrong way and it was really affecting me, I would say something about it. Like, I don't know. He also kind of starts talking about channels like myself. Hello. That was sassy, I'm sorry. But really channels like me and a lot of other people who talk about him when he does something wrong. Basically says we are the leader of hate, and, you know, people will look to us because of hatred. And we kind of, we started our channels bashing him, and we're like the leaders of this hatred, which is how he started his entire channel. Literally how he started his entire channel. His entire channel is based upon him bad-mouthing other people and using their names to get to the top. And he goes off on this rant, which he always does, about how we just use his name for clicks or for money or for whatever. I don't know if you know this about like YouTube AdSense. I'm not gonna be making a ton of money from this video, number one. Number two, he started his whole channel, and the only reason he has any subscribers is because he tried to do other things and he couldn't get subscribers. The only reason he has any subscribers is because he talks about other people. Of course, that's how my channel kind of got started, was by talking about him and other people. He's not the only person I talk about, but I'll admit that. Like, I'll admit that my videos talking about other people get the most views, because they do. That's what people want to talk about. I'm also going to be using, I know you guys aren't here for the makeup, but I bought the new Afrique by Juvia's palette, and it has just like the most beautiful colors. I haven't gotten to use it yet, so I'm going to use it right now, but I wanted you guys to know that's what I was using. I know a lot of you ask like what eyeshadows I'm using and stuff, so yeah, I thought that was, again, just another little thing that you can point out about him being a total hypocrite, but like, let's move on. He also really likes to promote a narrative that this is not the first time he's done this when drama channels kind of come for him. He always has this narrative of like, I'm just a really chilled out, normal person. I'm just chilling out. Like, if you saw my day-to-day life, I don't do anything. Like, it's a shame everyone picks on me because I'm just really normal and chill. And like, okay, nobody is accusing you of sitting in a cave with a laptop trying to ruin people's lives. Nobody's accusing you of that. Bad people can still have normal day-to-day lives and still do not good things. Like, this is such an irrelevant argument. Nobody is like, nobody thinks he's like Gollop and just like crouching around being a bad person all the time. We just think you've done some really shady and messed up things. And I think the problem with this, and the thing that I don't know if he'll ever understand, the biggest issue with John, like the absolute biggest, is that because he refuses to admit when he's wrong, because he refuses to own up to those things, like absolutely refuses, because that happens, they just build on top of each other. The lies and the deceit and everything, it builds one on top of the other, on top of the other, and builds and builds and builds and builds. And because that happens, because it's building on top of the other, because it's becoming more and more issues and more things that he hasn't talked about, more and more things he won't admit to, and more things he's denying, it's building one on top of the other, and that's what makes him look like a bad person. That's what makes him look so bad. If he had just apologized when the ringtone thing first happened, if he had just blatantly apologized, that wouldn't really be a huge issue anymore. Like, it might be brought up here and there when something happened, but that wouldn't be like a big thing anymore. It's the way that he handles these situations that are why people won't forget him, like won't forgive him. They just won't. He talked about how he had people from his past, like classmates, former classmates, trying to blackmail him, which is so interesting on so many levels because number one, it's alleged that he blackmailed Thomas Halbert into giving him money so he wouldn't expose him. And it just adds to the hypocrisy. Like, it's just like, oh, it's interesting you have such a problem with that when it's happening to you, but when you've openly done it to other people with no problem, well, that wasn't an issue. He also kind of talks about, and again, this is the problem I have with having the younger audience. He really went on a tangent about how it's not okay to defend yourself. It's not okay to explain yourself, because if you explain yourself, people are just going to twist your words. It's okay to defend yourself and to stick up for yourself and to explain situations. You just have to be honest and not lie and not be deceiving and not be manipulative and not do all the things you just did in this video. I don't think anybody wants you to keep lying, because we're all kind of just sick of it at this point. But you do. You just keep lying. You don't tell the truth. And that's where some of the real issues happen. It's not because you explained yourself. It's because you lied when you explained yourself, or you didn't, like, you learned how to apologize in the 1st grade. I just don't understand why it's so hard for him to just apologize when he does. Everyone does something wrong in their life. I'm sure at some point in this YouTube channel, I'm going to have to make a video apologizing for something, because it's human nature. Everybody does something where they might say something wrong or do something wrong. He's done way more than is normal, but everybody does stuff where they, like, everybody has those times. But normal people who aren't manipulative and aren't bad people will just apologize for that and say they're sorry, own up to it, and then work to show that they're better people. That's how apologies work. He has done none of that. Okay, there's only like 2 major things I feel like this video is getting way too long, and even though I tried to already edit what I had wanted to talk about, I feel like we're just getting into like me being nitpicky. While I enjoy being nitpicky, we just need to move on. Basically, he addresses the Peeterman situation that happened about 6 or 7 months. It happened around Christmas time. He addresses that situation and basically says everyone attacked him and went after him because apparently he is not allowed to be the victim of anything. Just because people didn't like him, they sided with Peter and all of these things. People didn't side with Peter because they didn't like John. People sided with Peter because John was giving, if you don't know about this, there's so many videos. I would just Google those. But people were not mad at John because they just didn't like him. And influencers weren't just supporting Peter because they didn't like John. What John did was so grossly awful and to Peter. Like, what he did to Peter was so disgusting and terrible that people who had vowed to never give you the time of day their whole careers had to speak on it and support Peter because of how absolutely disgusting that behavior was. You literally forced people who never wanted to address you because they don't like you, never wanted to give you any of their clout. You forced them to talk about you because of the awful allegations you made against him. It had nothing to do with if you had actual proof, actual evidence. I know he had the screenshots, and I know you could debate all day if those are true or not. I know there's been a lot of evidence to point that they're not true. A lot of things people pointed out saying that they weren't, they were false. But you could debate that all day. The real issue here, first of all, the biggest issue I had with that whole situation was not only like the obvious issues that everyone had with the situation. There are 2 big things, I guess. The first one is the fact that you lied about, allegedly. I can't prove that he lied, but I think he did. Lying about being sexually harassed is such a privileged thing to do. Every time somebody lies, being sexually harassed or sexually assaulted or something really negative happening to them, every time somebody lies about that, you are directly contributing to a culture that already doesn't believe victims and already shames its victims. You're helping people's case when you're making it harder for more women, and especially for him, more men, because men are inherently less believed than women. You're making it harder for them to be heard. You're making it harder for them to be believed because you lied. So now you're an example of somebody who lied just to get attention or to get views or to try and destroy someone, which is always what people think when people come forward. I don't know how it is in the UK, so I don't know if maybe he has to understand the ramifications of this, of how just truly disgusting it is when so many women and so many men are so scared to share their story, to lie and make up a story like this, to just try and end someone because of YouTube beef. It's disgusting. It's literally makes me sick. It's absolutely disgusting. The other problem I have, and I think it's kind of a personal thing, but like I probably feel this way because of personal reasons, but Peeterman has dedicated his entire life to being, I am in school to be a social worker, I've already said this. Peeterman dedicated his entire life to being a social worker and to helping people. He does, I don't know if you guys know a lot about social work. You don't get paid anything. You work really long hours, really, really hard job, really emotionally draining job. The dropout rate of people who are social workers who just can't do it because it's so emotionally draining is insane. To try and tarnish the name of someone who dedicated, this just makes me sick, because if this happened to me, I can't even imagine how devastated I would be. If it was a complete lie. If I had worked my entire career dedicating my entire life to selflessly help other people, because that's what it is to be a social worker. You are dedicating your whole life to selflessly helping other people, and then for some little British kid on the internet to try and invalidate that by accusing you of being a pedophile with no facts, I can't fathom. People weren't mad at John because he was trying to openly talk about something that had happened to him. People were mad at John for lying and accusing someone of something with no evidence to support it. That's why people were angry at John. No matter what he tries to spin that as, that's why people were mad. Sorry, that gets me real heated when I think about it, because my mom was a social worker. I had a whole situation with my dad where he was wrongfully accused of something, and it was like such a traumatic part of my life, like honestly, such a traumatic part of my life, of my dad being accused of something and essentially flipping our entire lives, my family's lives, upside down. I can't really talk about it because it's like a legal thing, and so I don't think I can talk about it with you guys in the near future because we're still dealing with it. It got mostly resolved, but there's still issues with it. Knowing that the emotional toll that not only take when you're wrongfully accused of something, knowing the emotional toll that because I lived it, knowing the emotional toll that not only takes on him, on Peter, but on Peter's family, on everyone who likes Peter, on a community, it's really, 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 it's really difficult and awful and horrible, and it's years of trying to overcome that. For him to try to turn that, this was the part that annoyed me the most about the video, for him to try to turn the Peeterman situation into him being the victim, I'm just so sad, because to turn that into him being the victim, to turn something that really, really ruined his life, because even if we know that it's not true, anytime you Google Peeterman's name now, that stuff's going to come up about that. There's now information out there like that. So to know that happened to him is so heartbreaking. And so for John to still, 7 months later, try and spin the narrative that he is the victim in that situation, I've used every negative word I can to describe it at this point. It's beyond being a person. You are not a sane person at that point. Like, you can't be. You really can't be, to try and twist that into you being the victim for some reason. One of the final things he talks about in the video is, again, this kind of references back to if you watch Beauty with Ashley's video, where she kind of exposes the fact that John posted on, this is the whole thing. John posted on Twitter that this woman was going crazy, threatening to kill him, threatening to burn him in the house, threatening to do all these things. He needed help ASAP, and all of this stuff about he was in grave danger. And a lot of his subscribers were genuinely very worried about him. Like, a lot of his subscribers were like, oh my God, are you okay? We're offering him places to stay, which is my theory that the whole reason he made up all of this was so he could have another place to stay because he was getting kicked out, but whatever. Because Beauty with Ashley kind of exposed the fact that this woman had given him time, given him a notice to leave, had asked him to clear out his stuff, had explained all of the reasons why, how he was recording her in her house, all of this stuff. But John tried to say, well, then people want to be malicious and evil and take it to the internet. And, this woman I stayed with, even though she did these really traumatic and awful things to me, which she debunked. And it's just weird because I have such a hard time believing him, because it's just not possible that this amount of crazy and weird people come across this man. Like, that's just not possible that this many truly clinically insane, horrible, awful people come across this man. It's just not possible. But anyway, he's like, and she decided to try to expose me and bring this to the internet. The only reason that woman talked to Beauty with Ashley, the only reason she talked to her, was because John had posted tweets accusing her of attempted murder, accusing her of being a crazy person. He brought that to the internet. That never needed to be talked about if he didn't want it to be talked about. The reason he did that, the reason he tweeted that was because he was getting kicked out and he needed a place to stay urgently. And he needed one of his titty fam to like, I hate saying that, I hate that thing. But he needed one of his people to let him stay with them for a little while. And it appears to have worked. But this woman would have never spoke to this other channel and tried to talk about it if John had never tweeted what he tweeted. It would have never been a problem. This is another situation where he starts something, he says a lie, he doesn't like the way it's perceived, and he doesn't like the reaction of the lie, and so then he's the victim. We can all obviously talk about this situation all day long. We can discuss how we don't think he's a good person, and I can give you receipts of why you don't think he's a good person or whatever. But at the end of the day, John, at this point, John is just exposing himself. In this video, what I have done here, for the Kuckian fans that still think I'm like evil, what I've done in this situation just now is take all of his words and literally just show you he's a liar. Like, he's just a liar. Using his own words, because it's so easy to do that because he just lies all the time. He's just a liar. I think the main point I would like to make in this video, and the biggest point I'd like to make, is that he is not a victim. The only thing he's a victim of is himself. He's a victim of everything that he has done to create the situation that he is currently in. It makes me so sad that there are like 300 comments on his video, and all of them are positive because he moderates his comment section so much that none of anything even remotely disagreeing with him gets through. But all of it's people being like, feeling so sorry for him. And those people, I feel like they genuinely do feel sorry for him. They genuinely feel bad. And I just needed to make this, that was one of the deciding factors to talk about this too, was like, there's people that still don't know what has had. They haven't gone down the rabbit hole to see the type of person he is. And no matter how much he wants to lie and try to manipulate and try to say that I'm just out to, I have no reason to be out to get this person. What would be my reason for being out to get him? I guess you could say views and money, but I guess you just have to believe my word for it when I say I don't need that. I have no reason to sit here for an hour going in depth to take the time to watch the whole video. I have no reason to do all of that except that I really want people to be aware of the type of person he is and the type of manipulation he's doing. That's really it. Yeah, this was kind of a weird video because it feels very negative when I'm done. I feel really negative. I don't like feeling like this after I finish a video. I like to leave you guys laughing and to kind of have something we can just talk about and have fun with. But I feel like whenever you talk about John, because he takes it so far, this isn't something we can always like laugh about or make jokes. I'll try in editing to make it a little bit more lighthearted, but it's not something you can really super joke about because he just takes everything too far. Everything. And this video that he just posted and is probably already deleted by the time I'm done recording this video is no different. That's my video. I hope you liked it. I'm sorry this video, as of filming, it's been 1 hour and 2 minutes that I've been filming, and I'm sure in post I'm only gonna be able to get it down to like 40 minutes. Yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching and supporting. If you have any thoughts on this, like leave it down below because I am really interested. Any comments that are really nasty or negative attacking me or other people are going to be deleted, but if you just have an opposing opinion, that's fine. Leave it down below. Yeah, I love you guys. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. I'm honestly just so happy you're here watching. Go watch Beauty with Ashley's video. Go down the Kuckian rabbit hole because I promise you it will show you a different person than you think you know. Yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!